And to take us home is actually a panel discussion hosted by Laura Holdaway. Laura she's based in Sydney. She's originally from the UK, and she's a psychologist, and she started her career actually as a primary school teacher, which she did for 8 years, and she followed her own dreams and passions before moving to Australia to work in the field of mental health and well-being. So she has a wealth of knowledge and experience and the importance of having a growth mindset at all ages of life, as well as the habits we can create to support this. Now, joining her are two couples, and they're the panelists, who I'm proud to call my friends as well. Ray Gunaraj and Daphne Yip are founders of Sindesi, which is a holistic curriculum development company. And they've been married for since the year 2000, and they have 2 amazing children, Samuel and Samantha. And last but not least is R. Chandran and Amy Cheng, founders and creative director of Act 3 Theatrics. They are both revered theater practitioners in Singapore. They've written different, all kinds of scripts. And in fact, they've been working on their YouTube channel that I've also been helping out with them during this COVID-19 situation. Amy is a prominent actress in Singapore and co-owner of Act 3 Theatrics. You probably know her most famously from Growing Up, the TV series Growing Up, and the recent Hollywood blockbuster hit Crazy Rich Asians. So I'm going to hand this time over now to Laura, Ray, Daphne, Chandran, and Amy.
Hi, Joseph. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. So I thought I'd just start by saying thank you and well done to all the phenomenal speakers today. It's been brilliant to hear from each and every one of you, and all the insights and learnings that you've shared. And thank you also for inviting me to join you on this panel. I thought it might be useful just to share a little bit more about my background coming from the teaching, because I just think it really follows on perfectly from Reader's presentation. And right, as you said, I was doing it for 8 years back in the UK. And right from the start, I was so passionate about not just teaching children about, how to learn and do well in their maths and English and reading, but really teaching them those life skills that are going to take them beyond the classroom throughout the rest of their lives, and incorporating some of those activities. So not just the things like mindfulness and meditations to help them have that calm state, but also things like teaching them resilience and self-esteem, helping them identify their individual abilities and strengths. And it's everything that everyone's been talking about today is so perfectly, all come together as these pieces of the puzzle, I feel. And if we can instill these in children, rather than wait till we're adults to discover what our unique strengths and abilities are, then what a great start we're giving the children. So we used to do different activities like vision boards. We did activities where we made little gratitude cubes, and like they created them themselves, and then each day they could go and put something they were grateful for. And if they were ever having a down day, they could go to their gratitude cube and choose something that would help brighten their day. And other little things like one task that I remember they really loved, and I had feedback from children even years later after teaching them, was getting them to have a picture of themselves in the middle of a piece of paper and passing that around the classroom, and all of their friends in the class thought the same, something that they thought was great about that child and what they thought their strengths were. And then it went all the way around, and then when they got it back, honestly, the joy on their faces, because you were saying, Joseph, earlier, that the importance of feedback from others as well to identify our own abilities, and having that feedback of strengths and things that they probably weren't even aware of themselves, but others could identify. And I even had children come back to me a few years later saying, oh, Miss Holdaway, I've still got it up on the wall. And yeah, I loved that little session we did. So I think it is so important to teach children this toolkit, if you like, that they can carry with them, not just through that year that you're teaching them, but year after year. And I was also sort of lead of personal social health education across the school. So we do whole school events with a different theme each year in instilling that positive mindset in children. And And it really, I think, I taught in year 3, so children are sort of 7 or 8 then year 4, and then up to year 6. And it was fascinating for me in year 6 to see children who I'd, either taught or knew of in previous years, who sometimes were very academic and very gifted and talented and sort of breezed through their younger school years. And then when the content got more challenging, or they had to do more problem solving where it wasn't just one answer, those children who hadn't instilled that, things like resilience and that positive growth mindset were often the ones, even though they had the skills and the knowledge, were the ones who would have the breakdowns, like, oh my God, I can't do it. And if they then got a mistake, they weren't used to that because they've been used to getting, the answers right all the time. And we know that for success in life, it's 20% is the skills and the strategies, and 80% comes down to the psychology. So this is everything, that we've been learning today from all the speakers, both for adults and for children, is about that psychology and mindset. And also, as Rita was saying, I really started to notice through my teaching the impact on children's mental health and well-being. And I did notice signs of anxiety and depression in children as young as 6. And that really sparked my interest to explore that and research that more. And as Rita said, there's so much research that shows the impact of our well-being, as well as our mindset and our self-esteem and everything, on our success. Because if you can have all of the knowledge and skills and answers, but if you haven't got that mindset to support that, that will certainly have an impact. And again, children are like little sponges, and they pick up on their environment and the adults around them. And often, parents think children are so unaware. And I had so many staff meetings where the parents would come in and be like, oh, the child, their behavior's been all out of sync. And I'd be like, oh, is there anything like different at home going on? And they'd be like, well, we're actually going through a divorce. The children don't know, but but yeah, and it's, the children do pick up on the energy of everything. So it's important for us to be aware of our own emotions and really be a role model to the children and set that example, and be honest with them when you've made mistakes, or if you've got different emotions coming up on you, like how you overcome them, and be that role model for those children. So I don't know if I've prepared a few questions for the panel, but I didn't know if anyone else needed to introduce themselves first. Joseph?
Yeah, perhaps Ray and Daphne, you could give a short background of Sindesi and the curriculums that you guys have been planning and writing. That'll be useful, and then that sets, you can then share then from your perspective, and then Laura, then you can add on with your questions as well.
Yeah, sure. Joseph, I was going to say, if anyone needed any or wanted any, I can create a PDF of ideas and stuff. If you've got kids at home and you want a few of these ideas, I'm more than happy to share them, so I can share my email or something later, if that helps.
Yeah,
okay,
sounds
hi,
great.
Laura. Sorry to interrupt here. Amy speaking. I think the video on our screen isn't working. We've been trying to get it to work.
But can you hear us?
But if you can hear us, I suppose that's
Yes,
fine.
we can hear you. Yeah.
So we shall remain faceless.
Okay.
Okay, sorry for interrupting.
Ray, Ray, Daphne, would you want to kick us off?
Yeah, my name is Ray. I'm Daphne's husband, and together we are doing what Joe just mentioned, Syndesy. So what Syndesy does is, so I see that Daphne is already sharing the screen, so she will carry on from here.
Hi, I'm Daphne. Okay, this is us, Syndesy. I'm actually an early childhood educator, and I'm also a teacher trainer in this area. And he's my partner. As you can see him, he's Ray. We are life partners. At the same time, we are also business partners. Okay, so he's doing a lot on the business development while I produce the programs. So I'm a certified curriculum designer, right? And so this is what we do. We design curriculum, especially for early childhood setting, parental workshops, as well as learning platform. And we also do workshops for domestic helpers, as well as grandparents, not forgetting them, they are part of the family. And we are also doing early childhood professional workshops. Can you hear me? Yes, okay. And we also do Camp Kubernetes for the families, and we are also part of the Christian community, and that's why we have Faith Builder, simply for the young and the youth. So this is what we do. We want to build, connect with people, ignite their passion, and we discover the purposes together. And this is what Synthesis is all about. So we are thankful to have this opportunity to be here, to be speaking to so many of you, and we learned a lot today. And we hope that we can give certain input that will benefit you and your family. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, so so our passion is actually education and children. And what we are driving towards is that because in current world today, everyone is so focused, especially parents, they are so into, creating opportunities and chances for their children, and it's all leading towards academic performance. But whereas we want to, put it out there and try and share with the parents and the community that, hey, look, there's more to life than just academic excellence. So that is the angle that we are coming from. And we want to share programs and activities and events that shows that, we can have a really good life of significance that extends beyond academic performance. Thank you, Laura and Joe.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ray and Daphne, for sharing. Who are the other panelists? Did they want to do a little intro before I crack on with some questions?
I think Amy and I, we run a theatre company, basically for children. And we also focus on children and adults with special needs. So for us, it's creating and living stories with children, in different forms. We're not experts in bringing up children. We're just parents and storytellers, basically.
Beautiful. Sounds perfect. Perfect. And anyone else on the panel? Was Junior on the panel as well? Or just us two? Us four? Maybe just us four. Okay, so a couple of questions I'd put together based on listening to all of the speakers today, as well as from my own experience. And, a lot of the speakers have talked today about how it's often the unconscious beliefs that we as adults have picked up in our imprinting ages in childhood that actually have an impact on how we run our whole lives and how we interact with others and the world and how we go through life. So I'd be really interested to find out and see if you can unpick for yourselves, if you think back to your experience through childhood and growing up, what are some of the lessons and beliefs that you adopted that you absorbed through, whether it was school or from your parents or friends growing up, and how that impacted you moving forward, whether positively or negatively. And, maybe you've discovered those and turned them around. And like we were saying earlier, awareness is the key and that first step to change. So when you can identify those in yourself, you're then able to move forward and support your children and your families and your loved ones moving forward. So if I could give you, if there's anyone got any that they're already thinking, oh yes, I'm able to identify that growing up I developed this belief through my experience and that had this impact on me through life, or I'll share a little example of my own just while you're having a ponder. And I'd like to come to each of you actually, if that's okay. So have a little ponder, but for me, for example, I remember at a young age, through my parents and watching them, I really developed this belief that I can do anything that I put my mind to. And I used to see my dad doing like different competitions and events, and he ran like the marathon. You know, he wasn't the fittest person, but I really saw that my dad had this real mindset that he could do anything he put his mind to, and that really instilled it in myself. But also, so that was a positive one, but there was also I remember this experience of when, you know, I used to go home and I'd be like, oh, Mum, Dad, I got 90% in my maths test today. And my dad, as a joke, would say, oh, why didn't you get 100? And although I knew he was joking and I was like, oh, ha, ha, the little inner child in me thought, oh God, there's always more I can do, that, you know, that I should try even harder next time. And I think through life, I then became a bit of a high achiever and did more and more. And although it served me in the sense of I've achieved loads of, you know, I used to set myself goals and achieve them, and I've done loads of amazing things in life because of that driven side of my personality. I've also learned that to make sure you have that balance, and that knowing when enough is enough. And so that's just an example from my own life, how our beliefs can have such an impact on how we move forward in life. So maybe over to Ray and Daphne first. Like, are you able to identify some of the lessons that you got instilled as a child, either from your parents or from your schooling, that has impacted you in positive or negative ways?
I think for me, I had a very true story to tell when I was 12 years old. In Singapore, at 12 years old, you have to undertake a visual exam called the PSLE that will take you to the right secondary school if you get good marks, you know. So at 12 years old, about 2 or 3 months before the actual exam, my teacher told me, Daphne, you can't make it, all right? You can't pass. So this exam will tell you whether, when you go to the secondary schools, you're going to take a 4-year course or a 5-year course. And 5 years seems like a long time to me. But my teacher said, there's no way you can go for an express course, which is definitely because your mathematics subject is terrible. You're always getting an F for it, fail, yeah? So I was really saddened by her remarks, but I think that turned out to be a turning point for me. And from that moment, I believe that I don't believe what she says. And I kept thinking and thinking, you know, who says I can't make it? Who is she to tell me that I can't make it? And I can and I will. So I think I'm thankful for my mother, who has never forced me to say that you must get 100 marks, you know, you must get this, you must get that. So I think that actually instilled in me and give me the free will to decide what I want to do, how I want to achieve things. So that was when the turning point was. I told myself, I'm not going to study for an extra year. Definitely not. I'm going to make my mom really, really happy. Okay. So for the next 2 months before the major exam, I planned. So what are you going to do, Daphne? Are you going to just sit down? Oh, I want to get into express stream. Oh no, I'm not going to do that. So I decided that I will just devote my time to prayers and devote my time to read and detach myself from television. And for that 2 months, that's all I did. And guess what? When the day of the results came and I got a pass and I managed to get into the express stream. And I took this lesson till now. I still remember vividly. I was actually jumping from walking home from my school to home. I was really skipping. And I was really so thankful, and the smile on my face, that is the experience that I wouldn't want to forget. And that takes me to adulthood as well. So every time I experience somebody telling me, Daphne, you can't make it. And the sweetness, you know, of that victory, of that hard work that you have put in, the effort that you put in, will always remember. So I'm really thankful for the people. And even I'm thankful for that teacher for telling me that. If not for her, I think the kind of positive mindset will not set in me, and it sets in me for a lifetime.
Amazing share. Thank you, Daphne. Very inspiring. Very inspiring. Ray, what about you? Does any
Junior is back on as well.
Oh, fantastic. Go for it, Junior, if you're ready to go.
No. Okay. I thought Ray. Okay, so like I so get what you ladies are sharing, and likewise, right? I had a dad who was amazing. I remember cycling on the bicycle once along East Coast Park. He came alongside me and he was like, I heard your cycling is very good. I was a bit boastful and I was like, of course. And guess what he did? He inched nearer to me and he began to kick my back wheel. I was like, oh my God, what's this guy doing? I'm gonna fall. But as I regained my balance, what I got present to is how he was trying to push me and egg me on towards even better cycling skills. So today, who I am is someone who can cycle with no hands, flip through the file as I cycle on the main road, and I'm loving it. And that's the kind of parenting I do with my kids, to increase the boundaries so they, as you know, I think so often parents, out of our good intentions to protect them, our boundaries ironically are so small that it's within our comfort zone, right? So when we've got a small comfort zone, guess what? The kids never get to expand to the fullness of their potential. So that's how I bring my kids up. I'm like, come, mommy's going to teach you how to climb the fence, how to pick locks, and how to do so many other fun things, so that you really live a life that you get, that you can do anything you want. Yeah, so that's my share, a short
Beautiful.
one.
Thank you, Junior. And on that note of like comfort zones, it's so good, even teaching children, you know, the visual of that circle. If our comfort zone is sort of this size, when we actually take a step outside of our comfort zone and we achieve whatever it was that we didn't initially think we could, our comfort zone actually grows with us, and we can expand it and make it bigger and bigger. And teaching children that from a young age, you know, they'll be invincible by the time they're adults. And often we don't learn this knowledge until we're adults. And we're like, oh, if we'd have only known this 20 years ago.
And exactly like what you said, what Disney said, is outside the comfort zone is where the magic happens, yeah?
Absolutely. And it's teaching children to expect those challenges and expect those failures, because that's where that growth can really come in, and like you say, the magic happens. Beautiful. Thank you, Junior. Ray, what about you?
Yeah, hi. Thank you. Very nice sharing. Nice to hear. Yes, I do. Of course, all of us have past experience, but there are two things that influenced the way I actually parent my kids. So when I had my boy, it was a learning journey. So when I had my girl, a few years later, I became a little bit better, because my son was the guinea pig, so to speak. So okay, so what to answer your question, my past experience, yes, I've had negative and as well as positive as well. So I learned how not to be a father from my father, and so that kind of shaped my parenting journey. So, you know, I'm still young, not that old yet, but in those days, you know, parenting style was very different from what it is now. I had a very stern, strict father. So coming back home is like coming back to a military camp. So everything goes according to clockwork. What needs to be done has to be done, and of course, yes, academic performance was priority back then. So I actually wanted to be a musician. I wanted to travel the world and sing on stage and perform and play the guitar, and you know, I just wanted to do that. That was my passion back then. But of course, I didn't do that. So bringing the report book back home after school was scary back then for me. So you know. So everything was focused on purely academic performance, and life wasn't easy. It was very tough. So things which shaped my parenting style now, I look back and I see the kind of stress that I had as a child. I don't think it is very good to put our children through that kind of stress, because like what I mentioned earlier, there's more to life than just academic performance. Of course, you need basic. Yeah, I see Amy and Chandran there. Okay, so of course,
my laptop. Sorry to interrupt. But yeah, sorry, Ray.
Yeah. Okay. So of course, we need that foundation. You know, the academic foundation. But what I really feel the parents now should focus on is, you know, we have had enough about IQs, and you know, we need to focus on about, you know, those things that go beyond IQs, that beyond academics. You know, what about your mind, your heart, your, you know, today we are talking about passion, purpose, you know, stuff like this. You know, we are kind of like in a cookie cutter society where everyone has to go through this belt, and then you go into that station, and then you come out from that station, you go into this belt, and this is what you're supposed to be. So we need to, you know, get out of that. And how do we get out of that? The parents have to change first. The parents' mentality has to change first, and from there, because if we ourselves do not change, we cannot expect our children to change. And before we can preach, we need to practice what we are hoping to preach. So yeah, so as I was mentioning, both positive and negative as well. So I learned what not to do from seeing my father and how I felt. And right now, I try as much as I can to just do the opposite of what my dad did back then. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think
absolutely.
it's so true to learn
That's
from
our son back then.
yeah, that's even. So actually, I was going to talk about him too. Yeah, you know, what you said earlier on about, you know, using our own experiences, what worked for us, how we felt when, you know, we were pushed in a certain direction, and how we might not want to do the same thing for our own children, or we might want to do the same thing for our own children. And I think more importantly, because our younger son, whom you just saw earlier on, Jeevan, he's actually having his PSLE now. And, you know, this is such a crazy period of time, right? Where, you know, home-based learning and all the other stuff. And I think it's really about creating a strong, giving him support and creating a very strong mental health approach rather than just the academics. It was a huge actually lesson for me too, to let go of you know, expectations and things like that. I mean, it's always something that I think I'm over it. And then when I see the group chat, because parents like to, you know, talk about, oh, the homework, assignments, tuition and stuff like this. And I'm going, oh my God, am I doing enough? You know, things like this. But it's always like, okay, I haven't really let go of the expectations, and reworking and reflecting and thinking of ultimately what is important. So I think both of us agreed that what is important is that, yeah, he stays, you know, disciplined, has a sense of routine, but otherwise it's not about, you need to attain this grade, you need to go to this school. Yeah, time for play,
Absolutely.
relaxation and things like that.
For me, it's very simple.
Absolutely.
For me, I just expect one thing. It's good manners, and for children to treat others, I mean, it could be human beings, could be animals, well, with dignity. I think that's what I learned from my dad. And as we all know, the idea, I think, is for us to live by example instead of you know, telling them what to do. So that's what I do. You know, that I try and inculcate that within myself. To treat people well, to, you know, like if you go to a restaurant, how you deal with others. And the other thing is not to give excuses, you know. Even like when I am late, I say that I'm late because I should have left earlier before I bring in, you know, like a traffic jam or something, so that they don't always latch onto excuses and, you know, for their shortcomings. Yeah, if, you know, for me, that's very simple. That's just that.
Yeah, I suppose there are certain
Brilliant, thank you. And it's showing them, you know.
Yeah, I suppose there are certain expectations. I mean, we want them to be the best that they can be. So yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine as parents, all of you just want your children to be happy, you know.
You know, sorry,
I think
Laura.
we've heard from all of our panelists there. Go for it.
So Ray was about to say something.
Oh yeah, sorry. If there's one thing that I would like to, you know, really focus on, is that I really try to inculcate the love for challenges into my son now, because my girl is only 3 years old, so she's quite young. But you know, I try to use little experiences that we go through in life to enable him to enjoy the experience, going through the experience of challenges, to enjoy and love challenges. So that is kind of, it ties back to what we were having earlier about this fixed and the fixed mindset and growth mindset, right? Yeah, so I think a lot of kids tend to shun away from challenges and they limit their, you know, abilities. That's one thing, yes.
And I think that's
absolutely,
kind of
and teaching children that there will be challenges, expect them. Go on, Amy.
And I think that may kind of tie in with what one of the points that Rita brought up. I think it's the fear of making mistakes, the fear of failure, and hence this, you know, not wanting to meet with challenges. But yeah, it's to build up the resilience and to accept that failing and making mistakes are just part of life. I think that's the huge mindset that needs to be overcome. I mean, even for myself. Yeah.
Fantastic. Any other shares on that question before I move on to our next hot question? No, we all good? So the second thing that I noticed coming up in the talks today and the discussions were around, you know, in having that peak state, and Joseph shared how he got into that peak state when he was doing his skydive, but actually how can we get ourselves into that peak state every day so that we're coming from our best selves, if you like. So for example, and showing our children how they can do the same as well. So you don't have to go and do a skydive to get yourself in that peak state. You can actually find it within by doing different activities that light you up. So for me, I've learned over the years, like meditation and yoga really get me in a peak state in terms of like real calm, clear head. I'm really balanced, and my day is always smoother when I've done my meditation in the morning and my yoga. But doing other things like running just is phenomenal for me, and music and dancing, and like whenever there's music around, like that just instantly gets me into state. And I'm you know, even if you're having a bad day, if you put a song on that is, you've got good memories around and it's got a good beat and that lights you up, you can change your state in an instant. So, and it's good for us to identify those activities in ourselves, so that, you know, if we do come home, if we've been working all day and we're feeling a bit like exhausted, and then we're coming home to our partner and our children in that negative state, then that's going to impact on that evening or that weekend if you're coming from that you know, less than peak state. So what different activities do you know of that for you really light you up, and that you can do not only for yourself but also instill in your children and to help them as well? Junior, do you want to go first? I intuitively knew you were going to go.
Okay, for me, I love what you share about music. So wait, just aside, just now, Amy, I so totally can identify with what you say when, you know, you choose that grades are not the priority, but then the chat group comes on, all the homework and all. So I get that, right? Like, and with 5 kids, but I think where I've moved on from that is to remind myself that I'm not going to go with the flow, you know, and then we're going to be the salmon swimming the upstream. So back to you, Laura. I love what you said about music. So it's really for me, music. So I wake up with music. I've got my playlist for me. I've got a few of my favorite songs because early in the morning when I wake up, as I brush my teeth, I literally listen to music and I dance in the mirror. And that really gets me up, you know, the positive upbeat of it. And I've realized that even at home, that's what the kids do. So they can be like baking and then they'll just be singing and dancing to a different beat of music. And I love that background music because we all know, right? Unconsciously, our thoughts are trained to focus on the negative and to spot, you know, the danger. But when the background music is uplifting, upbeat, and the kids are in motion, it's amazing. The energy level is just it's just different. So music, yes. So get a playlist of your favorite kind of music. Yeah. And okay, the other thing about music is I watch the lyrics. So for my kids, I tell them I don't want any negative connotation. I want you to be mindful of what you're feeding your mind, even as you're listening to music. So positive words. Yeah, that's it.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thanks, Junior. Anyone else got some good suggestions that they use or might start using maybe? Or any that you, Amy, did you say you have you guys have children as well?
Yeah.
What sort of things do you do with your children? Like if they've come home from a really tired, you know, they're exhausted from school and they're in that really slumped state, like what do you do or what can you do that's going to help them get back into that peak state and enjoy, you know, have a better experience moving forward?
Well, I think communication is important. So, you know, when they come back home, then they don't look so happy. I usually ask like how your day was, and they may not be in the mood to talk about it yet. So I just give them that space, let them do what they need to do, eat or whatever, and then just gently come back to it again. And I feel that if they don't feel like they're pressured to tell you anything, but you're just there for them, by they will start to open up and share. And the reaction then is important too, not to get, you know, too whatever the news is, and just to be encouraging support, because that sets up for future such situations. Yeah, my husband, he likes to probably...
For me, I'm the sporty one. So, you know, our younger one loves badminton. So, you know, it's sort of start talking to him about things related to sports. And for the younger one, that helps him. For the older one, he's doing political science in the university. So for me, I'm quite open-minded about, you know, politics and world affairs. So, you know, sometimes we see him that he's quite stressed. So we start talking about, you know, world affairs in a really subtle way, and then he starts slowly opening up and then sharing thoughts. Yeah. So I'm the distraction in the life. Amy's the serious one.
Now with sports too, it helps them get out the energy.
So for me, is to see what
definitely, and there's actually research that shows
it's a good cop, bad cop strategy. No.
I mean, for myself, if I feel down or whatever, I find that going for walks really help a lot. Like just, you know, yeah.
For me, I enjoy writing, so that's what, yeah.
I believe in food. Beautiful, so if our children
and the
comfort food, right?
Yes. So I believe that when the children are upset, I think I gave them their favorite food, which is ice cream. So sometimes I change the routine. They come back from school. Usually we have lunch, right? You want to have porridge. You want to have the proper food. So sometimes we change our routine. Okay, let's not have any rice today. Let's have ice cream for lunch today. Let's have pancake for lunch today. So I think that lifts up their hearts, you know, and their spirit. And that's when you can start talking about it. So I felt that as parents, we need to be observant. Sometimes we need to see where they are. Where are they right now? Their mind, where are they right now? So it's no point in forcing them to speak up or talk about it when the mind is not there, not present at all. So I rather that, okay, let's not think about it. Let's do something which is different. So that helps in many ways, you know. And when they are feeling better, in fact, if you have a good relationship with them, they will just talk to you automatically. You don't have to force. And then they will, after a while, they'll say, oh, mommy, this happens today. Or daddy, you know, I was very upset with this boy, you know, who did this to me. So I believe in food, yeah.
Okay. So for me, for me, it's sleep. Come back, you look tired. Oh, I know. I mean, my son is 8 years old, so he's pretty young. It's very obvious when you see him not himself, right? It's pretty obvious. You can look at the face. So I know. Okay. So first thing, we come back, you know, do your routine stuff. Come, let's go to bed. So when we go to bed, we lie down, we just chat. We chat, you know, just chat about the day, how it is, and then I will ask him, you want to relax? You want to have a nap first? And if he says yes, okay, I know it's time to move away and let him get over it. think about it, process, and then when he wakes up, he will just come and ask me, Papa, do you know why I went to bed? Because he normally doesn't go to bed when he comes back to school. It's very difficult to get him to rest. So he himself will come and, he will share with me, he will open up. At times, it could be just watching TV. So I will break the routine like what Daphne shared. I will break the routine, but instead of food, we will go into play mode. Either play or watch TV. Okay, forget about your homework, just let's chill, watch TV, let's play. And then after that, he will ask me, wow, that's different. How come you did that today? I don't know. I just feel like it. And then he will start to share. Oh yeah, something happened. I want to share with you. So that's how we do it.
Absolutely. And it's funny because all of you have expressed it in your experiences with your own children. And I was going to say, as a teacher, I learned through more like research and then experience that children do often share, particularly boys. They're more likely to share if you're engaging them in another activity, that they're doing something, completely different, and then you start opening up the conversation. Whereas girls, is a little bit easier to just sit down, and girls are naturally quite, chatty and share their thoughts and emotions with their friends anyway. So, but yeah, particularly boys, engaging them in another activity, whether it's sports or some sort of distraction, then they're more likely to open up about how they're really feeling. And yeah, definitely. So all brilliant shares. And I think it's so important. You've probably heard the phrase before about how you can't pour from an empty cup. And I think it's so important. And I'll say that again, Junior, like you can't pour from an empty cup. So imagine your own self-love cup. If your cup's like empty, you can't then pour that love into your children or your loved ones around you. So making sure that you're doing those things, whether it's even sleep for you, Ray, and Junior, music for you, and food for you, Daphne. I know they're the things you've identified that help your children as well, but it's finding those things for you that are going to fill your own cup so that you're full and your energy is at that peak state, so that you're then able to come from that place of love and support for those around you as well. So my final, I'm just conscious of time as well, so I'm going to just stick to one final question. I'd love to hear from each of you. What have been your key magic moments or takeaways from this webinar that you're really going to take away and implement moving forward? What are like your golden nuggets that you have taken from maybe one speaker or from each of the speakers in their own way? What is the thing that you've felt really wowed by or moved by, or thought, oh, actually that's something that I'm going to take and install in my life and in my family's lives moving forward to serve both myself and my family in a better way? Who would like to start us off this time? I'll give you a few more minutes. I'll share. For me, I've absolutely loved hearing everyone's different, and I think it's just real that knowing that everyone's unique in their own ways, and everyone has their own strengths and abilities, and all of the different topics, again, how they've interlinked, but you can see all of those themes running through from the speakers and their presentations, that they are coming from that place of passion and purpose, and they've got their own strengths and unique individual abilities, but it's recognizing for yourself how amazing you are, and that you have something to give and share in the world as well. So yeah, lovely to hear from everyone who did a brilliant job in their own light. So anyone else got any nuggets or magic moments or new reflections, or maybe it's even just reminding yourself of things that you've taken away that you thought, oh yeah, that's reminded me of what I already knew but I needed to hear again.
I think for me,
and again, this could open up in the go, Ray.
No, I was just going to say that for me, it reinforces the idea of, I mean, we all share this journey where, we deal with children, we deal with people. And I think it's good to hear that this idea of being positive, it's something that we can all carry with us and pass it on to the next generation to build confidence, to try and be better people. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I think the overall takeaway, I could only join in the last two presentations because I had work earlier on. But I think it was really nice to hear similar experiences, shared experiences, to know that you're not alone as a parent, as a human being. And also that there are tools out there that are, just look for the help. There are always tools within and without, and never to give up. So yeah, that's my biggest takeaway.
For me,
Brilliant, thank you.
overall theme of the growth mindset. So what I literally got from like the different shares and the different applications of it is whether it's a relationship with myself primarily, or with my spouse, or with my kids, or even with colleagues, or even with my work, right? Having that mindset of not yet, instead of focusing on grades as the end product, but like it's not yet, like what Carol Dweck says, right? Is something that it's a powerful reminder for me to not, because being a type A mom, right? I'm always so full of like, oh, I haven't done this and this and this and this. So it's just for me to enjoy the process, learn as I go along, and just really embrace the meandering rivers of life, right? Because, and it's counterintuitive because our mind, the fastest way from A to B is a straight line. But yet when we look at nature, it actually meanders. It seems to take me off course and then back and off. And I'm like, oh, you know, so to flow more with nature instead of resisting, and to thank God for the circumstances and learn from each one. Yeah, that would be it for me.
Well, thank you.
And knowing, Junior, that you can
carry on.
I was just going to say, knowing you can still flow, but in that upwards trajectory, if you like, and even though you'll have dips, you'll learn from them quicker and be able to grow faster moving forward. So it's rather than a straight one, it's a wavy one, but moving upwards and forwards. Daphne, over to you.
Yes, thank you. In fact,
I
resonate a lot with Junior. In fact, I was watching your presentation and I resonate so much with it. And I'm really thankful that you are being so authentic. And the whole presentation is really about authenticity. And that's also my belief as a parent as well. We need to be authentic to ourselves as well as to our children. So Junior, in fact, I was quite impressed in the sense that in the whole world right now, sitting here watching your presentation, you tell the whole world what your problem is in your home. And I think that is very much missing right now in our world today, that people are trying to show the best of them in everything they do. In fact, in positive mindset, you also need to be authentic. You need to be assured that what you are feeling, self-awareness, that how you're feeling right now, and how you're going to portray yourself to the rest, you know. Of course, not everything is about sob stories. Sometimes sob stories can be a happy thing. So I would think that the whole summit today, that's what I really learned, that even in spite of all the challenges that's ahead of us, we can still be positive, we can still be authentic, we can still love the challenges that we are facing today, and how to transform it into something that is going to be a dream, you know, for any one of us or for ourselves. So really thank you for this summit. Yes.
So I guess it's naturally my turn, right? Yes, two things. I don't know if, I think Joseph should still be there, right? I learned one thing from Joseph. I'm going to go skydiving. If I ever get the opportunity, I'm going to try it. That was awesome. The next thing, yes, a lot of people shared, I mean, all the speakers actually shared nuggets of their past experiences. And Junior topped it all the way up there with, you know, photos and really, you know, like what my wife said, she was really authentic about the experiences. And the things that Junior shared kind of reminded Daphne and myself, you know, we've been married for 20 years. We've been in a relationship for 22 years. It wasn't a bed of roses. So Junior kind of took us back to some of the journeys that we had. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, so I'm also not going to be afraid to share photos, which doesn't put me in a nice light anymore. So everyone has shared little nuggets of things that kind of like, either rekindled our passion for learning or kind of like shed a little light on our past experiences. So I'm thankful for that. Authenticity, yes, I saw a lot of authenticity in everyone here. It's really nice to be in this community where we are doing things, sharing our views, sharing what we feel out there, but at the same time holding on to our experiences and really being authentic to each other and bringing up kids. We even had a child that came on Zoom earlier to introduce herself with the dad. That was nice. Yeah. Thank you so much.
There's more of that, yeah.
Hey, Gary.
I'm there. Hey guys, just a quick sharing. Thank all of you for sharing. I was coming in and out, so I was shortly after my presentation. I was listening in, but I was also bringing her out for a walk as I promised. But I've learned so much from all of you. Thank you so much for your authenticity behind the sharing. And I think just to share as well, one thing that kind of stood out for me is, and I think Junior also mentioned it, and a lot of us brought it up in one way or another, and this is very much of a journey. It's not just a destination, right? We're always so concerned about where we landed up at, but we often forget that this is a journey, and that along the way we will learn other things, and every now and then we might fall down a little bit, but it's good to know that all of us have, it may not be exactly the same, but there's very similar processes, concerns, and even challenges as well. So whether you are here for the earlier segment or you're also staying for the second part of the summit, where we talk about parenting, even for me as a new father, I take heart from that, knowing that, hey, you don't have to be perfect. We're going to make mistakes, but we have to continuously. I think that the goal is to give ourselves that space to know that, hey, so we're going to make mistakes. It's always important to remember. First things first, right? What's the purpose? What are our priorities, and not get too carried away by what I think the world sometimes defines as success, but really know what is a priority. Right? So I thank all of you for your very authentic sharing. It's not easy, I know. Even sharing how we pee on the plane before you jump, that takes courage. I encourage us to do a little bit more. So, and I thank you. I thank Joseph also for having me on the panel. And again, hopefully this is not going to be the last, and we can continue to share our experiences and learn from one another as well.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Junior. Thank you, Chandran. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Daphne. Thank you, all the speakers. Thank you, all of the attendees who attended this webinar and who will continue to watch this webinar long after it's over. Wow, I got nothing else to say. I'm so blessed. I'm so honored. I'm so privileged to have spent these couple of hours with all of you to listen to your authenticity, to listen to your open sharing. Yes, that's what growth is all about. It never ends. Yes, so I would like to thank all of you. Thank you for spending the time with us, all these hours with us. And yes, we'll hope to see you really, really soon. Thank you and take care. And all I've got to say is bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for having us.